Assalamu alaikum, dear students. In the previous lectures of chapter 1, Units and Measurements, we have studied dimensions and dimensional analysis with examples. Let's proceed the chapter. The next topic we have errors in measurements. As different instruments that are used to measure different physical quantities in physics, and accuracy of the measurement depends on the accuracy of the instrument used for measurement there. Defects in measurement of physical quantities can lead to error and mistakes. Mistakes are committed by an observer and can be totally avoided. Errors which occur due to the limitations of the instruments can be reduced. Lesser the error, more is the accuracy in the measurement of a physical quantity. It is possible to estimate the magnitudes of error, for which the errors can be classified into groups there. That means faulty instruments of physical quantity can lead to errors there, and hence the errors are broadly divided into the following two categories. The first category is to be given as systematic error, and another category is to be given as random error. Now let's see the systematic errors, which is to be further divided into three types, that is instrumental error, second is error due to imperfection in experimental technique, and third one is given as personal error. So here, as the errors are broadly divided into two categories, one is said to be the systematic error and another is said to be a random error. Now let's see first of all what is systematic errors. So the systematic errors are the errors that are not determined by the chance but are introduced by an inaccuracy that must be involving either the observation or measurement process. Now, the sources of the systematic error may be due to imperfect calibration of the instrument and sometimes imperfect method of observation. Each of these errors tend to be in one direction, either positive or negative. This systematic error, we can say that it is an error due to defective setting of an instrument. For example, if the pointer of an ammeter is not pointed exactly at the zero of the scale, it will not point to zero when no current is passing through it. It is very obvious that when no current is to be passing through the circuit, the ammeter must be shown zero over there. But if there is defective setting of the ammeter is to be takes place, and hence the pointer is not exactly at the zero of the scale, so here we are getting the error in our measurement. So such error can be minimized by detecting its causes. As the sources of the systematic errors are as follows. Number one is given as instrumental error. This instrumental error arises due to defective calibration of an instrument. For example, an incorrect zeroing of an instrument will lead to such kind of zeros, and over here when we are getting such kind of error, that zero of a thermometer that is not graduated at proper place, the pointer of weighting balance in the laboratory already indicating some value instead of showing zero when no load is kept on it. Another example, when an ammeter showing a current of 0.5 ampere even when not connected in circuit, etc. So due to the defective calibration of an instrument, Over here, as we had taken the example, an incorrect zeroing of an instrument will lead to such kind of error there. And also we can say that these instrumental errors are caused due to faulty construction of the instrument. As we had discussed, if thermometer is not graduated properly, that is 1 degree on the thermometer actually corresponds to 0.99 degree over there. The temperature measured by such a thermometer will differ from its value by a constant amount. So here we are getting error in our measurement there. Hence, such error is also called as a constant error, because as due to the faulty construction of the instrument, whatever the fault is there, it will be arises constantly in our each observation day. So such error can be minimized by taking the same measurements with different accurate instruments there. So this is about the instrumental error. The next is given error due to imperfection in experimental technique. Now this is an error due to the defective setting of an instrument. For example, the measured volume of a liquid in a graduated tube will be inaccurate if the tube is not held vertical. It is very obvious. So over here, if we are not taking, if there is the error due to the imperfection in the experimental techniques, so here the observation, the reading we are getting wrong there. We are not getting the proper or correct or accurate measurement in our observation. The third is given personal error. Now, such errors are introduced due to the fault of the observer, bias of the observer, carelessness in taking observations, etc. If observer is not taking measurement properly, so error will be lead in our measurements there, which is said to be the personal error. So over here, for example, we can say while measuring the length of an object with a ruler, it is necessary to look at the ruler from directly above. From a side, we cannot observe or to give the length of the object when we are using ruler over there. Similarly, if the observer looks at it from an angle, the measured length will be wrong due to the parallax. Another example we can give when we are measuring the voltage or current by using voltmeter and ammeter respectively. So over there, behind the needle, there is a mirror over there. So we have to look exactly above from the needle. That means the image of the needle which is to be observed in the mirror over there. So the image of the needle in the mirror and the actual needle must be one and above. It should be coincide one and above. So it will be looks only one needle. If you are observing from any side, either left or right, or by making certain angle when you observe or taking the reading, so it will be shown you the wrong reading. Whatever the needle is to be observed for taking the proper observation, correct reading, so the image of the needle must be exactly below the actual needle there. Then only we can get the correct and accurate measurement in our observation. So over there, the personal errors are to be introduced due to the fault of an observer taking readings, and it is to be referred as human error also. And also they vary from person to person. So the systematic All these are the sources of the systematic errors, and these systematic errors can be minimized by using correct instrument, following proper experimental procedure, and removing personal error there. The another category is to be given as random errors. Now these are the errors which are introduced even after following all the procedure to minimize the systematic errors. And these types of errors may be positive or negative. These errors cannot be eliminated completely, but we can minimize them by repeated observations and then taking their mean or average value. The effect of the errors can be minimized by taking a large magnitude of the quantity to be measured. Another way is to taking the large number of readings and calculating their mean values. And also when we are using the instrument whose least count is as small as possible, so the errors can be minimized over there. So the random errors occur due to variation in conditions in which experiment is performed. As even after minimizing all the types of errors that we had discussed in the sources of the systematic errors like instrumental error, error due to imperfection in experimental technique, or personal error, even after minimizing all these errors, the errors may occur due to different factors like change in temperature, pressure, or fluctuation in voltage while the experiment is being performed. Okay, so such errors is said to be the random errors, which is also called as the accidental error also, and can be minimized, can be eliminated by following the procedure like we have to take the large magnitude of the quantity that is to be measured, we have to take the large number of readings and calculate it, and we have to take its mean value, and also we have to use the instrument whose least count is as small as possible. For example, the temperature may change during the course of an experiment, pressure of any gas used in the experiment may change, or the voltage of the power supply may change randomly. So over here we can say all these are takes place accidentally, so called as the random error. So here we had discussed about the errors in measurements, which is classified into two categories: systematic errors and random errors. As after discussing errors in measurements, let's see estimation of error. How can we estimate how much error is there in our measurement? So first of all, we should know the difference between the true value and measured value of a physical quantity that is said to be error. And these error may be positive or negative. The true value of a physical quantity can never be known. But when we take sufficiently large number of readings and find their mean, the mean is to be referred as mean value there. Over here, suppose that n number of readings we are taken for the measurement of a physical quantity, and that is to be given as A1, A2, A3 up to AN. Then the mean value of our measurement is to be given as A mean, and it is to be given as A mean is equal to, here we have to take the summation of all our observations. The observations we have taken as A1, A2, A3 up to AN. So we have to add all those observations, and it is to be divided by the number of observations. For example, here we have taken the 5 observation in the experiment. For example, we are measuring the length over there. So 5 length, the physical quantity we are measured over here is length. Okay, so we have taken the length A1 is to be given, then A2 we have measured, then again one more length is to be taken, again one more length is to be taken. So in this way 5 measurement we have taken for the same object. Here we are not going to change the object. Okay, so for the same experiment we have taken 5 observations. So all those 5 lengths we are supposed to be add, and that addition is to be divided by number of observation. As we have taken 5 observations, so we have to divide it by 5. So over here, whatever the number of observations we have taken, we have to first of all add all those values, and it is to be divided by the number of observations. So in this way we can determine the mean value over there. So arithmetic mean is to be denoted as a mean, which is to be now given as 1 upon n, and here we are writing in the summation form as summation of ai, where value of I is to be taken from 1 to n. If the value of n is suppose 3, so here we are supposed to write a1 plus a2 plus a3, and it is to be divided by 3. So in this way we can determine the mean value there. And this is the most probable value of the quantity. Then the next is the magnitude of the difference between mean value and each individual value. That is called as absolute error. That is said to be the absolute error in the observations. Here we are supposed to give that the measurement A1 suppose we have taken. So what will be the absolute error is present in our first observation? So it can be determined the difference between the mean value and the first observation. So whatever the difference will come over there, so that much error is there in our first observation, and it is to be given as, first of all, we are denoting the absolute error by means of the delta sign. Okay, so absolute error in the first observation. The first observation here we are denoting as A1. Okay, so in our first observation, how much error is present? So whatever the first observation A1 we have taken, that is to be subtracted from the mean value. Here we are writing in the modulus. Okay, it may be possible that A mean is greater than A1 or A1 is greater than A mean. Okay, the measurement we are supposed to consider over here, maybe the error which will be coming over here is maybe negative or positive. Okay, so this is the reason that it is possible that A mean is greater than A1 or A1 is greater than A mean. So based on that, the value of delta A1 may be positive or negative. But here we are taking only the magnitude, that's why we are considering the modulus over here. So if the value, the difference of A mean or the observation will comes to you negative, so it will become positive there. So the absolute error of the first observation is to be taken as delta A1 is equal to in modulus A mean minus A1. So when we are considering this difference, so we are getting actual how much error is present in our first observation. Similarly, we can determine how much error is present in our each observation. So for getting the absolute error in the second observation, we have to write it as delta A2. Delta A2 is nothing but the difference between the two values, and the two values are nothing but the mean value and the whatever the observed value is there. Okay, so delta A2 means the difference between mean value and the second observation. Similarly, here we can determine the difference between the two values for n number of observation and can determine the error which is present individually in each observation there. Okay, so for an how much error is present for the nth observation, so it is to be given as delta an, which must be is equal to a mean minus an there. So over here, the magnitude of the difference between mean value and each individual value is called as absolute error in the observations, and we can get that individually in each observation how much error is present, that can be determined. And obviously here we have to take the modulus of or the magnitude of the difference between the mean value and that particular observation there. Then next, over here, after getting the mean, after getting the absolute error, how can we determine how much mean absolute error is present in our all observations? So the arithmetic mean of all the absolute errors, that is called as the mean absolute error, which is present in the measurement of a physical quantity. And obviously, as we know that how to determine the mean value, in the same way we can determine the mean absolute error also. So for that, again we have to do the addition of all the absolute error, and that addition is to be divided by the number of observations. As the mean absolute error is to be given as delta a mean, that must be is equal to how many observation we have taken, based on that much absolute error we are getting. Okay, so we have to add that much absolute error, and it is to be divided by how many observations we have taken. So in general we can write it as delta a mean is equal to delta a1 plus delta a2 plus delta a3 plus dash 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 plus delta an, and this summation we are supposed to divide by n, where n is nothing but the number of observation. If we have taken 3 observation, so here we are supposed to write delta a mean is equal to delta a1 plus delta a2 plus delta a3 divided by 3. So based on the number of observations, that much absolute error is to be that much absolute error can be determined, and hence we can determine the mean absolute error, and in general we can write it as a mean is equal to 1 upon n summation delta ai, where value of I from 1 to n. So over here, if there are the 5 observations we have taken, so we are getting 5 absolute errors. So how can we get the mean absolute error there? So it is to be given as delta a mean is equal to delta a1 plus delta a2 plus delta a3 plus delta a4 plus delta a5, and that is to be divided by 5. So over here, n represents the number of observations there. Now the next is, as we had obtained the mean value and also we had determined the mean absolute error. So by taking the ratio of the mean absolute error to its arithmetic mean value, so that ratio is called as the relative error. How much relative error is present? Okay, the ratio of the mean absolute error in a measurement of a physical quantity to its most probable value. The mean value is also called as the most probable value also. So this ratio is called as relative error there. So the relative error is to be given as, it is equal to delta a mean upon a mean, where delta a mean is nothing but the mean absolute error and a mean is nothing but the mean value or most probable value there. So by taking the ratio of mean absolute error to its arithmetic mean value will leads to give the relative error there. And finally, after obtaining the relative error, we can determine by using this value how much percentage of error is present in our measurement. And hence over here, when the relative error is to be represented as percentage, that is said to be a percentage error. So how much percentage error is present in our measurement, that can be calculated very easily, as we had seen stepwise there, how to get the mean value, then how to get the absolute error, then we had discussed about how to get the mean absolute error also, and finally how can we obtain the relative error. And by using the relative error, when it is to be represented in the percentage, so it will give the error in the error is to be given in percentage in our measurement. So how much percentage of the error is present in our measurement, that is to be given as the percentage error is equal to delta A mean upon A mean into 100. So by multiplying with 100, okay, so which quantity is to be multiplying with 100? So that is nothing but the relative error. When the relative error is to be multiplied with 100, so we are getting the error in percentage. So here we had discussed all about errors in measurement, and also how can we estimate the error there in our measurement. So here we have completed the topic errors in measurements. The remaining part of the chapter we'll discuss next time, and hence the chapter will be continued next time in the next lecture. Thank you.